What's going on? My name is Zac Holcomb with Additive America, and today on this video, something a little bit different. We're gonna go all the way through Grainger Stadium, the history of all the changes to the ballpark with the Tommy Mattocks. So big thanks to Tommy for putting this together. He basically was making a bunch of posts and sharing stuff. He likes to share things on Monday about the stadium on his Facebook page. So if you don't follow along with Tommy on Facebook, definitely catch him on there. It's Tommy Mattocks. But here we go. It's Tommy walking me, Bryan Hanks, and Julia through Grainger Stadium and sharing with us all the things that he can remember about the changes that took place at the stadium over the course of time. So I think the common word here is that Tommy is a legend of the baseball stadium. The guy grew up there basically. So it's pretty cool to kind of get all this information from him and put it all together here in one video. So thanks to Tommy for doing it. Thanks for the Wood Ducks for letting us come out and record video and do this whole fun little deal. And thanks to Julia for putting it together. But I hope you enjoy. Here it goes.
Hello, my name is Tommy Mattocks and I'm here with Zac Holcomb, and Bryan Hanks is doing the filming, and we got Julie here who works for Zac out at his office near the airport. Today we're going to not do a whole lot of talking about people. I'm going to do a whole lot talking about the changes that have occurred here at Grainger Stadium. So the first thing I want to talk about is when you come in the main gate and you look and you see the aisle, and where this electrical box is, that used to be the groundskeeper's office. And we had a guy that was groundskeeper for years and years and years. His name was Lewis McAvery. We called him Mac, but his real name was Lewis McAvery. He lived here in Kinston on Washington Street. And that tiny space was his office. When he wasn't out there on the field working, you could come in and catch him sitting at his desk here in his office. And the gift shop used to be a dressing room for the home team. You can tell that there used to be a wall here, and it run across here, and that used to be Lewis McAvery's office. That was kind of a closet and storage area from back. And from here to about that other post was the coaches, home coaches' dressing room, and that's where the home coach dressed. From the pole on down was the home team's dressing room. And there was no doors other than the door to Mac's office along this wall outside this office. Let's walk outside and walk down to the men's bathroom. This men's bathroom was added later. This used to be the home team's bathroom and showers. So that's where that occurred. So all of these buildings, this building and the gift shop, were accessed from underneath the dressing room through a fence here on the end of the stadium. The coaches and the ball players would enter their dressing room through here. And the doors were on this side of the wall. In fact, you can see where one door was right here, where the mortar is. But the problem is, there used to be lights here, but the lights are gone. And this is dark as the dickens. And over there on the first base side, where the umpires dress and come out, it's the dark, and they got 2 rows of steps to go down. It's pure dangerous over there. While we're walking, I wanted to say that Zac here is got a big empire out there close to Parent Academy on the airport road, where he makes prostheses and prosthetics. I saw his show the other day, and I don't know the difference in those 2 words either. And they're big words, and I can't spell either one of them. So this is why I was thinking to death I was going to do a video, because I wouldn't have to do any spelling. Now Zac is running for mayor, and our filmer today, Bryan Hanks, he's running from the law. No, wait a minute, that ain't quite right. No, to get Bryan in trouble. And all of you know that. So the real deal is the law caught him and he's out on the bail.
Linda got him out.
Yes.
Okay, before we go up in the stadium, this little alcove right here where the wood duck emblem sits used to be the men's wrestling walk in there and show them how small the men's restroom for 40 years used to be.
Wow.
That's amazing. But I've used this bathroom many a time. This is the old concession stand. I'm not sure they even use it anymore, but they do have people standing out here that'll drink beer and make ice cream and stuff. I'm not sure those windows are even open. But that concession stand served this stadium for about 40 years also.
That was the only one?
That was the only one. Around this corner was the ladies' dressing room, and it looked like the men. I didn't ask for a key or anything. But this little alcove and into there was the ladies' dressing room, and that served its purpose. I mean, look now, they built big, brand new ladies' restroom here, and one on the other side. Here where the old visitors' locker room used to be. And this looks the same as just like that one down on the other end. But this used to be the showers and the bathrooms for the visitors.
So the current men's restrooms on both sides of the stadiums were original clubhouses for the visiting and home teams, is that correct?
Say that again?
Both of the men's restrooms currently today were the old school home and visitor dugouts,
Correct.
clubhouses.
That's absolutely correct. Access, gate, and you can see how dark it is. This is a small toilet. This is the umpire's dressing room, and they added us a air conditioner, so that thing is air conditioned. Now, there's a little bit of light here today. When you're not a 7 o'clock game, this darkens the dickens here, and yet you got to go down these steps without being able to see the steps. And when you got here, you just had to hunt this step with your feet. But we did it. And this goes into the dugout. What's amazing to me is when the dugouts were originally built, this was not here. This is the coach's stand where the manager and the pitching coach stand and signal the catcher what pitches they want. But in the old days, the manager used to stand here on one knee against this rail and signal the catcher the pitches. So that's changed. Now, one of the things that I'm proud of is when they built new benches here at the stadium, they built these new benches in March of 2017. All this lumber was donated, I think, by Blizzard Building Supply. So it didn't cost the city nothing, didn't cost the Woodnuts nothing. And Reed Whaley took on this project for building benches in this dugout and benches in the other dugout as a scout project, and he earned Eagle Scout from doing this project. Let's walk out here on the field. For 30 or more years, this net ended right here where the grandstand breaks. It ran from here to where the grandstand breaks on the other end. So only the people in sections 3, 4, and 5 were protected from foul balls. This was open, as was the third base side, and foul balls would go into the stands. Well, people were pretty good at watching the game and ducking, and they might throw up a hand and get hit by a ball on the hand. That wasn't too bad, and we never had any what you call serious injuries from that. But the bats go through there too. And you've all seen players that take a swing at a strike and lose the bat, and it goes up against the net. Well, back in the 50s and 60s, it didn't stop at the net because there was no net. It would go into the bleachers, and I've seen at least 3 people where they had to call the EMTs and take them off in an ambulance to the hospital. That's how serious the bats were. Finally, I don't know what year it was, but they extended the net all the way out. But the net, to start with, stopped right there at the end of the grandstand. Well, there was box seats there, and the same thing was happening. So they added that little flag on the box seat at this end, and they added the little flag to protect Jim Godfrey at that end there. Yeah. The light poles, for years and years and years, there was a net just like the stone grandstand that ran from that pole to that pole, and it ran all the way to the top almost to where the lights start. There was a screen up there, so a foul ball would hit that screen, and it was connected to the front end of the grandstand, so it hit that net and rolled back and fall back into the ballpark. So if you caught it, it was a dead ball, but at least we got to save the balls. What's interesting, in this alley right here, this exit, there used to be a man for 20 years that stood there, and his name was Eagle Eye. I don't know his real name, but everybody knew him, and everybody called him Eagle Eye. And he would stand propped up on that rail. As soon as a foul ball would go over that he knew was not going to hit the net, he would holler, "Over," and he would start running down that aisle. And when he got out there, he had 3 boys in the parking lot. One boy was out here in the right field, one boy was here in the center behind the grandstand, and one boy was out there outside the left field area. And then boys would get the ball and throw it over the fence to Eagle Eye, and he would come right there to where the net ended and throw the ball to the home team. Back then, you couldn't keep foul balls. It's amazing. While I'm talking about foul balls, if you notice, when the umpire's standing back here and a ball pitch comes in, hits the dirt, the catcher will do this, and the umpire will take the ball and give him a new one and look at it and throw it over in the dugout. When I was the umpire, I would tell the ball boy, if I throw you a perfectly good ball, you just rub it up a little bit and put it back in the ball bag because it's playable. As opposed to colleges and high schools, if the ball went over there and bounced off the parking lot and got all scratched up, they're going to throw it back in the game. So when I was umpire here, and they didn't let you keep the foul balls, we rubbed up 24 balls before each game, and we never run out of balls. Now, the umpires rub up 7 balls before the game. And if you watch the game, you'll notice when a third out is hit to the right fielder, as he's coming to the dugout, he'll usually toss it to a kid there. Left fielder, he'll come in and toss it to a kid in the stands. All the third base coach, when they get a little foul ball, they usually toss it to the stands. So we lose a lot of balls. And any ball hit over there in the picnic area, the kids can keep. And there's nobody outside the park in the parking lot to retrieve balls. So all them balls are gone. And so that's why they rub up 7 dozen. It takes 5 more dozen than back when I called like 10 years ago. So that is a big change, big change. While we're talking, our fence is 335 feet. That's like 110 yards and 5 feet to gain. They used to play football in this stadium when Grainger High School was in operation. Well, we needed 10 more yards back here. So the field ran from about where that grass is all the way to that fence. And the goalpost at that fence was 2 foot inside the fence. So when we would score a touchdown and kick an extra point, kicking the extra point would always go out the park. So one of the managers or ball boys for us had to run outside the stadium and retrieve the football. At this end, the goalposts were a little bit beyond that grass, so when they kicked the extra point, it would go up in the stands. Well, all the kids would go up there and try to catch that football when it goes up. Now, one thing that I find incredible is back when the park opened, the bullpen was in live territory. You see the foul line and you see the chain link fence down there where the bullpen is now. There was a mound there, and the catcher would be at this end. And they warmed up in what's live territory. So you know a warm-up pitcher throwing to the catcher is going to throw a wild pitch once in a while, or he's going to hop one to him and the ball is going to get past the pitcher. Well, it roll all the way down here to almost the infield, and they'd have to stop the game because there's a loose ball on the field. They'd have to stop the game, and somebody throw the ball back to the catcher, and wasn't for long another one would come. So the game got stopped often because the bullpen were inside in live territory. Whenever they did some major renovations, then they moved the bullpen in the left field behind that fence, and they moved the bullpen in right field behind the fence. So that really helped out a lot. And in both the home team dressing room and the visitor team dressing room is in that last part that sticks out the furthest down at that end. So teams come out, and after the game, they're both walking almost side by side together to go to their bullpen.
I love that. We love that because our box is right here on the third baseline, and so they can't walk to or from without hearing what we have to say. Sometimes they'll walk around after like 3 games in the series. They understand, but yeah.
Well, all that is relatively new. Cam McRae, who's the owner of hundreds of Bojangles, that concession stand got built in 1992, and it was called Bojangles Concession Stand, and that area was called Bojangles Picnic Area. Well, beyond the concession stand is a little place where the kids can throw fastballs, and there's a radar down there to see how fast they're throwing. Beyond that is the kids' play area. Now, when they decided to build Mother Earth Pavilion, they had to tear down the old groundskeeper's warehouse where he kept all his mowers and stuff, and his office was in there. They had to tear that down. So Bill Ellis had the good sense to buy the old Saltwood Products lot over there, and he kept one of the big warehouses and moved the groundskeeper's office in there. And they've added a weight room where the players can go there and lift weights and walk on treadmills and stuff. And they built the Mother Earth Pavilion right there. Original plans, as I said on my Facebook page yesterday, is the Mother Earth Pavilion was going to be beyond the right field line, and it was going to be made out of the scrap lumber and scrap brick that was used in the old railroad depot that sit behind Sears on Queen Street. The depot sit on that side street, and they tore it down when the train quit coming through here so much and they didn't need it. And they saved that lumber, and the pavilion was going to be there. But it looked like a depot, and you'd have been inside and you would have missed a lot of the ball game. So, but they were going to have seats on the outside. But I'm glad they went with this.
Yeah, that's the first I had seen those renderings of the train depot idea. I never knew anything about that. Do you know what they did with those bricks and the lumber? Do they still have it somewhere? Did another project?
I'm not sure, but it was in one of the warehouses before they tore it down. And they tore the office down and another warehouse from Saltwood Products, and they extended the parking lot, because before that, whenever we'd get almost an overflow crowd, they're parking down there at the Jiu-Jitsu, Stroud's Martial Arts Center, and parking all in the church parking lots and everything like that. So adding that much parking really helped out the stadium. The scoreboard was updated in 2007, and that's Bryan Hanks' toy. The video board was added, and so now they control that from the press box up there, and they show the picture of the player that's batting and give all of his stats and stuff, and that's interesting. Back when this stadium was built, this scoreboard was like the one that you seen Bryan Hanks playing with the other day on his video. They used to have drop-in numbers, and they had a man that would sit out there and do that. Now, one of the problems the way Mother Earth is and scoreboard is the people sitting in Mother Earth can't see the scoreboard. So Texas had the good fortune of adding televisions up there in the pavilion, and they've got a TV camera somewhere that's on the scoreboard all the time, so the people in the pavilion can at least now know what the score is. Let's while we're standing here, let's talk about the wall. That wall is made out of concrete block. I know, because I painted it twice. My dad was a paint contractor, and he got the contract to paint that, just the wall. We didn't paint the grandstand, and we just painted outfield wall. And we painted it with rubber-based paint. And the problem is rubber-based paint is thick and sticky. And this was always during the summer, and I was 10 or 12 years old, and I dipped that brush down in that big bucket of paint. And if you come up and just put the brush on the wall, it would stick. And then when you pull it off, you'd leave bristles all on the wall and everything else. So when you got your paint and you started, you better be spreading right away. And you could only spread about an area about 2 foot by 3 foot, something like that. So it took a while to paint that wall.
You were telling me about that a little bit yesterday. You said he was old school.
Yeah, my
no
dad was
rollers.
old school and would not use a roller.
Wow,
We
no
all
roller.
wanted to use a roller, and that's what they use now. But my dad would definitely not use a roller, so we had to paint with an 8-inch brush and by hand.
How long did that take?
Oh, it took a week, but I didn't have to do it by myself. We had 3 or 4 guys that were out here, and I'd always get the low section. So here I am, 12, 13 years old, and I got to paint the low section. So I'd have to get a little flat shovel and scoop the dirt away just a little bit and go down there and get that and then push the dirt back so that there was no space showing unpainted. Well, as you would think, I would get dirt on my brush, and when I'd go up here and paint some more, I'd have dirt all over the wall and everything else. So I wasn't the best painter in the world. And that might have been on purpose so they wouldn't ask me to come out here and paint it again.
Good thing you were a good basketball player and a baseball player, right?
Yeah. That wall down there is 12 feet high. And you see there is 12 step downs of about 6 inches each. One out yonder and down east, and 2 right yonder together where mowing is. Out there in center field is 3 or 4. And so you would think with all them step downs, that's 12 of them would be 6 foot. So if that's 12 foot high, you'd think that down there would only be about 6 foot because of all the step downs. Well, if you take a view of the outfield fence, from center field to left field is level, and it drains this away. From center field to right field, there's a slope that brings that way. It's about a 2-foot drop from the middle of the center field wall to the right field line. And so that's why the fence isn't any higher. They come in here, I'm trying to see when they done this. I don't know, probably in the 90s sometime. And they dug out 2 feet of dirt from here out in center field. And that's when they lowered the dugouts also. But from the stadium, you would not know that there's drains here in the outfield. There's about 5 or 6 drains. That's a drain. And so whenever they have a hard rain, they come out here with squeegees and squeegee the standing water over that into this. I've had a picture of it on my Facebook several times. And they can get rid of the water. This field drains so well that 30 minutes after a hard rain, they can be ready to play. And that's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, that's sweet.
Let's walk up here in the shade in the grandstand. To me, this is a really nice touch by the woodcutter. Because they put the name of the season ticket holders on the seat. And people walking by can tell whose seat that is. And I'm telling you what, this guy right here, he's a great individual. I can't say enough about him.
Very
He's
stand-up
the
guy.
man right there. So, so I'm glad my name's on my seat so I can find it.
I like that. We come up right here. This is how we come into the games every time. And we come up and it's about 3 steps in. We hang the hard left to see if you're in the seat. So you're either in the seat or you're around doing your meet and greet.
I want to talk about the groundkeepers. We've had outstanding groundkeepers. We started off with Louis McAvery, and he was probably here 20, 30 years, and he was almost legally blind, but he got enough help to where he could do his job, and he kept the field up while he was here. Then he was replaced by Tommy Walston, and Tommy Walston did a great job, and he did so good that we started receiving awards for the best field in the Carolina League. Well, East Carolina got a hold of that and kind of stole him away, so to speak. They come and hired him out from under us to be the groundskeeper at the baseball stadium at East Carolina. So that was a major hop and a prestigious hop for him. And then after Tommy Walston, we got Stephen Watson, and he's carrying on the tradition. Boy, he's won numerous best field in the Carolina League, and you can just look at the field and tell it's perfectly manicured and mowed, and he keeps the infield covered if it's going to rain because he wants to control the water on the infield. So very few times is the infield not covered and it just rain on the infield during the baseball season. Most of the time when we're not playing, the field is covered. I want to talk about the media announcers that sit up there in the press box. First one that I can remember, we had a guy named Billy Woodard that worked for WFTC, and he would sit up there in the press box and do the announcing and the play-by-plays on the radio, and he was awesome. And he was young because he just graduated from high school. We went to school with my brother. Then when the Wood Ducks came, they hired Dominique Cotronio, and that's when I started work up there as an official scorer. And so I would work with the media guys. I call them media gurus because they're just that. They're awesome. And I didn't think there was nobody like Dominique. So when he got the opportunity to move up and move away, I thought, wow, I wonder who I'm going to get now because Dominique was so well. So the Wood Ducks hired Matt Presence, and golly, he quickly put my mind to rest that he was just as awesome, if not awesomer, if that's a word, all the stuff he did, and he would provide me the lineup. And back then, I got to the stadium 2 hours early, not because I needed to be. I only needed to be here 30 minutes early in time to get the lineups ready, but I would get here 2 hours early just to hang out and be ready. And his lineup sheet was always ready and waiting for me. So I'd go up there and fill out the scorebook, and then I'd come around and talk to people that come in the gate. And it's just a blessing with all the people that I've met through my job, 4 years as the official scorer. So after Matt left, then I retired, and the Wood Ducks now have a man named Matt Davis. And I don't work with him, but I see his work, and gee whiz, he's got more stats than you can shake a stick at. He's got everything broke down by RBIs, runs scored, and so forth. He's got it broke down as whether it was a away game, a home game, and the daggone guy, he must not have anything to do, because he's even got it broke down as to what uniforms the Wood Ducks wear. Whether we're wearing the collard greens, or whether we're wearing that Spanish name that I can't never pronounce, or whether we're just wearing the regular uniform. He's got it broke down there. The general managers that I can remember that we had, everybody loved North Johnson. North Johnson would come out of that office and start down this aisle, and as soon as he'd get up there, somebody would say, "Hey, North," and North would stop and talk to him, shake hands. He'd get away from them, come 3 steps, and somebody else holler, "Hey, North." North was a people person, and Kinston just loved him to death, and he was visible through this place all the time. North hired a girl named Sherry Massengill, and she worked under him for about 2 years, and then North got the job down in Atlanta with the AAA team down there, and so Sherry Massengill stepped up and was the general manager. And after that, after she left, Wade Howell is the general manager now. He come in, and he is stretched so thin. He was basically just the Wood Ducks general manager the first year or so, but then Hickory lost their general manager, and Texas wanted Wade to go from Hickory to Kinston, Hickory to Kinston. So Wade is the general manager of Kinston and the general manager at Hickory. And Hickory ain't no 30-minute drive, folks. Hickory's about 5 hours or more. And so I don't know how the man does it. But he'll go up there and stay 2 days, and he'll come back home, stay 2 days. And he works his butt off. He's not very visible. He don't walk through here, but he walks around behind the stadium and makes sure all the jobs are done. So he's an awesome general manager too. Bryan Hanks does a good job up there in the booth. He's going with a girl called Linda Whittington, and all her boys have been bat boys here at the stadium. And Linda works at the Welcome Center, and Bryan Hanks will get on the loudspeaker up there and say, "You've won a prize. Go down to the Welcome Center and see Hot Linda." He calls it out right over the loudspeaker for everybody to hear. And so I call her Hot Linda, and she don't mind. And I've known his wife since about 1970. She worked at Lenior Community College, and when I taught basketball referee classes out to the college for a while, I went through her, so I've known her forever. She's a sweet lady. I think the Wood Ducks are surviving because of the support of the people. And so while we come to the stadium, we sit in our chair, and a ball be hit out yonder by the Lenior Community College sign, I don't think we're really aware of who's supporting this team. So I'm going to take a picture of every sign out there on the wall, and take a picture of every billboard on top of the wall. And I'm going to post that on my page in 2 weeks. And then probably in 3 weeks, I want to do the same thing for all these people that have bought box seats. Because they're paying big bucks for these box seats. And a lot of times they don't mind people sit in them. They might be 3 or 4 or 5 sitting in them. So I don't know whether they feel like they're getting their money's worth or not, but I think they need some exposure. So I'm gonna come out here and take a picture of every one of these signs and tell you who's sitting in what box. Because I think it's important to see where the money's coming from that supports this team still being able to stay in Kinston. So I hope that you'll go to my Facebook page and see that in 2 and 3 weeks. But I want to thank Bryan Hanks and Zac Holcomb and for coming out and filming this thing. And I can't wait to see it either. To me, it's going to be awesome. And we've had a few people to comment, and we've stirred a memory. And that's all I want to do. I got so many friends in Kinston. If I can just stir a memory, bring back something. People have quoted on my Facebook page, "I was a kid and went to the games and this and this and this happened." Well, Bryan Hanks and Linda's sons were both bat boys. So when I was calling out here as umpire, Paul Whittington would bring me the balls out of the dugout whenever my bag would get low. And everybody knows Scott, and he was bat boy for a long time. And now, this year with COVID, I don't know whether you've noticed or not, there are no bat boys. The major leagues decided they wanted as few people as possible on the field for COVID. So they've eliminated all of the games like Alexa would go out there and have a Bojangles toss, or she'd go out there and have a dizzy bat race, or Dude and the Piggly Wiggly Man would run races. All that was put out this year on account of COVID. I hope it comes back next year. But it was so terrible for me to see that there were no bat boys in either dugout this year. The players have to get their own bats. Usually the hitter will run to first base, the next batter will go out there and pick up his bat and toss it back to the man on deck, and he'll carry it to the dugout. But everybody that's ever been a bat boy at a major baseball team has lifetime memories. And so that's what I wish that some kids would have to be able to do. If you can, before I wrap this up, I want to go out here to the fence and and say one thing before we leave. You see those baseball statues out there? That's the most photographed place in the stadium. Every time you enter the stadium, there's a little boy sitting on that baseball and his mama or daddy is taking pictures. When you leave the stadium after the game, there's a little boy sitting on them baseball with his mom and daddy taking pictures. Bill Ellis, I think, got those baseballs and put them here when he was recreation director. And it's one of the best additions to stadium. It don't look like much, but the kids love it. And they lay all over it, get their picture taken with it, and it's just wonderful. And that's what's the good thing about stadium and baseball. When you look in the stands, most every parent has got a kid with them. Just like Zac brings his kids, brings his wife and his kids. It's something the whole family can do together. And I love it. And it's one of the greatest things and greatest assets Kinston has ever had. So long live the stadium, and I hope we can keep a baseball team here. I did a survey of attendance between the Wood Ducks and the Mudcats, because the Wood Ducks were just at the Mudcats game, and we're probably, for that week, we probably averaged about 1,600 fans. And for that week, based on a big crowd on Friday night and a big crowd on Saturday night, the Mudcats averaged 400 people more than the Wood Ducks. But look at this. The Wake County has got 1,112,000 population, and Kinston's got 20,000. So Wake County is 50 times bigger than Kinston. And Kinston was hanging with them on every day except Friday and Saturday, and they only outdrew us by 400 fans for the whole week. That's incredible. We get support from Jacksonville, Newbern, Greenville, and Goldsboro. I love to walk through the stands and take people's picture, and I always ask them where they're from. And boy, there's a slew of people every game just from out of town. So when the Wood Ducks came here, I wanted them to have Kinston in their name. I wanted them to be the Kinston Wood Ducks or something, and was disappointed when they did Down East. But I think now, looking back, it's one of the best moves that they ever made, is to include the surrounding people in the name and make them feel like this is part of their team too. First, is there anything you want to say or any questions you want?
I don't have any questions, but I think it's awesome that you brought it all together on how the stadium does a great job of adding to the fun mix in the town, and it also brings families together, and it also brings people from out of the area into town, and with that comes their money. And so that's a great way for the town to have something that helps generate revenue, but it also provides something that's a really great positive add-on to everyone's life that lives here too.
I agree.
It's really
Every kid this big got a Wood Duck shirt on. I love it.
Yeah.
It's a t-shirt or a game jersey, and they walk through the crowd and they're just as proud of that thing as they can be. Holding mama's hand and trailing behind with Wood Duck apparel. And the mama's and daddies will buy them a baseball with a Wood Duck on it or a bat with a Wood Duck. Concession Stand and the gift shop are doing great with the fans here. So I'm gonna wrap this up. I appreciate everybody watching, and I'll try to let you know when this is going to appear on Facebook. So until then, and until next week, this is Tommy Mattocks signing out.